Coal Board planned to close the pit, even though its coal reserves would last another 5 years. Within days, half the country's pits had closed. Pickets were soon at the gates of those that hadn't, and the clashes between miners and police began. In an unprecedented move, the police organised their response on a national scale, coordinating all their movements from a control centre at Scotland Yard.
Aye.
Men were called in from virtually every police force in the country. Convoys of police moved out to the flashpoints. Areas were sealed off. Pickets were stopped at police roadblocks and told they couldn't enter districts where miners wanted to work. Now, 6 months on, a dispute which has already lasted as long as the Great Strike of 1926 has cost both sides dearly. The operational cost of policing the strike now tops £120 million. In terms of casualties, police have suffered nearly 700. For the British police, riot equipment, helmets, shields and sometimes special long batons has become almost standard. Some of the scenes have left an indelible mark on the British perception of its police force. But the divisions within the mining community, between striking and non-striking families, are surely even deeper. They will linger for a generation.
You get yours out and ours will be out. They will come out. They won't. They will come out. I'll tell you something, if yours not out, yours has not got a job to go in now and get back. I'm not bothered about.
After 6 months, these are the penalties the miners have suffered. On average, each striker has lost more than £4,000 in wages. 6,000 of them have been arrested. It's now 7 weeks since the Coal Board and the Miners' Union last sat around a table together to try to find a settlement. For the opposing leaders, Ian McGregor and Arthur Scargill, it's an acrimonious game of words. Each now quite openly calls the other a liar. And for the miners at the colliery where the strike started this day 6 months ago, Cortonwood in Yorkshire, the determination to fight on seems as deep as ever.
A free family trip to the Sheffield show was the City Council's way of helping Cortonwood miners mark 6 months out on strike. Hard times have heightened the sense of community, but for Glenn Owen, his wife Pat and their 2 children, it's been the worst time of their lives. Early on, there was a risk of the children being taken into care, and now the family is threatened with eviction. Nowadays, Pat Owen always goes shopping with a calculator to avoid any embarrassment at the checkout. Her husband used to bring home £90 a week. Now their total income is £23 a week social security and £13 child benefit.
Kiddies used to go and they used to pick a box of little apple tarts up, and I used to say, yeah, put them in the trolley. Nah, they have to put them back. We buy plenty of bread and potatoes and eggs. I mean, if we've nothing else, we can always have egg and chips.
Glenn's most immediate worry is getting his 16-year-old car through the MOT to enable him to carry on picketing. He's already done 10,000 miles on flying picket duty. The Owens' plans to modernise the house they're buying from the Coal Board have had to be abandoned. The mortgage company has refused to freeze their repayments and they're now being threatened with eviction. The electricity is due to be cut off any day. But hardest to bear have been the bitter divisions between miners on strike and those still working. Divisions which even extend to their children and ruin the Owens' go now, pay later summer break.
We went on holiday, about a month since, to Derbyshire Miners at Skegness, which we thought would be a break from strike. And when we got there, bands were playing together. And when they found out that we were on strike, they being working miners' kids like, they just would not let their kids play with ours.
I was disgusted to think that human beings can take it out of innocent children, to make them suffer for something that's not their fault. I was really disgusted.
For their children, the strike has meant free school meals and a couple of pairs of shoes each from the Borough Council. The dispute is simply a fact of life they're growing up with. And for their parents, there is no going back.
No, I'm not prepared to pack it in. The only one way I'm prepared to pack it in, and that is on our terms.
I'm prepared to stick it out right at the end. I'm more determined now than ever.